Max Verstappen is out of control. In 2023, Formula 1 didn't witness a lot of side-by-side racing from the Dutch driver, but this hasn't done much to alter his aggressive image. A recent survey revealed that Verstappen is still seen as one of the dirtiest drivers on the grid. Verstappen had an incredibly dominant year in Formula 1 last season, clinching his third world title. He notched up 19 Grand Prix victories and stood on the podium 21 times out of 22 races. Because his RB19 is in a class of its own, providing him with limited opportunities to battle rivals for positions, he wrapped up the season with only 2 penalty points. On-Track GP had the chance to grab people's opinions on who the dirtiest F1 driver is at the Autosport International Show in Birmingham, and the results came as a shock to nobody. It was Max Verstappen. This general consensus echoes the opinion of one legendary figure in the sport. If you remember, Max Verstappen's dangerous driving in the 2016 season resulted in the FIA implementing the Verstappen rule. And not only that, they also angered Niki Lauda enough for him to comment that he needs to see a psychiatrist. Verstappen stirred frustration among his competitors in the 2016 championship by employing a defensive tactic of moving under braking to protect his position in braking zones. Sebastian Vettel, a 4-time world champion, was among those who voiced their concerns about the Dutchman's aggressive maneuvers. The FIA addressed the issue, and ironically, Vettel became one of the first to be penalized under the newly established Verstappen rule during the 2016 Brazilian Grand Prix. Yet, it was Verstappen's bold move during the 2016 Belgian Grand Prix, where he executed a daring block on Kimi Räikkönen of the Camel Straight that grabbed the headlines. He shifted across the line of the Ferrari driver at a speed of around 200 miles per hour. According to the Times, Niki Lauda, the triple world champion and F1 legend, took notice of the incident and made the controversial declaration he needs to see a psychiatrist, to which Verstappen responded, "If I go, we might as well go together." The 26-year-old, now a 3-time world champion himself, shared today that he approaches the comments of past racing legends with a certain level of skepticism, acknowledging that he takes what yesteryear's heroes say with a grain of salt. He said, "You need to have a bit of sense of humor, right? The older generation of drivers, they're quite outspoken and straightforward. But I like that because that's how I am as well. I speak my mind. When somebody says something to me, I'll say something back to him." But Verstappen's out-of-control driving, as some people put it, seemed to have gotten him somewhere, because Gerhard Berger now puts him at the pinnacle of Formula 1 drivers he has witnessed, despite previously campaigning that his former teammate Ayrton Senna was the greatest driver of all time. Berger, a 10-time race winner in F1 himself, stated last year that Senna and Verstappen were unique and the 2 best drivers he had ever witnessed. But he now contends that Verstappen has surpassed even that, describing him as even better and having skills that Berger hadn't seen before. Berger has consistently praised 3-time world champion Senna, having been his teammate at McLaren for 3 seasons, including 2 of Senna's title-winning years. Despite initially placing the legendary Brazilian as the best ever, Berger is now saying that Verstappen's driving style has made him question his own assessments. In an interview with Kronen Zeitung, quoted by Motorsport magazine, Berger shared his thoughts on Senna. "For me, he was the best there has ever been. But if I just look at the statistics and the hard facts, then of course you have to put Michael Schumacher first and Lewis Hamilton second." But considering the trends in Formula 1, Berger went on to provide more insight, suggesting that the current world champion may have surpassed even his former McLaren teammate. He added, "I said before that Senna was the best driver of all time. I have to say, I think Max Verstappen is even better now. He has skills that I haven't even seen yet. It's also interesting to see that there is such perfection. On the one hand, the team didn't have any technical failures. They didn't mess up any pit stops. And on the other hand, a driver who drives at the limit like that didn't make any mistakes." This begs the question, could Hamilton be fast enough to fight Verstappen for his coveted 8th title? Not according to former F1 team owner Eddie Jordan. He said that, if given the choice, he would pick 2 drivers to compete against Max Verstappen for the World Championship, neither of them named Lewis Hamilton. In a conversation with F1 Insider, Jordan drew parallels between Verstappen and the 2 legends of the sport, saying, "I have experienced a lot over the years. In the first test with Michael Schumacher, it was already clear that he was going to be Ayrton Senna's challenger. He was so fast right away that we thought the stopwatch was broken. I also worked with Heinz-Harald Frentzen, a driver who, for me, is still the most underrated F1 driver ever. He was a natural talent. For me, however, Max Verstappen is a mix of Senna and Schumacher. Given Jordan's high regard for Verstappen's talent, he firmly believes that if he were to assemble a team to challenge the Red Bull driver, only 2 current drivers would make the cut. And Hamilton isn't one of his choices, not because he forgot about him, but because he doesn't believe in him anymore. I see only one challenger, Charles Leclerc. Ferrari must build a car of the level of Red Bull. Otherwise, I don't foresee much excitement. If I had to build a top team and Max was not available, there would only be one duo that could take him. Leclerc with Lando Norris as a teammate. I no longer believe that Hamilton and Alonso, both deserved champions, can keep up with Verstappen because of their age. Lewis Hamilton is committed to 2 more years of racing in Formula 1 with Mercedes as he pursues his 8th world title. But, at 39 years old, time is ticking for the British driver to achieve that goal. Offering Hamilton a glimmer of hope is Christian Horner, who is hopeful for Mercedes to rejoin the Formula 1 title conversation. The Brit's ability to capitalize on this potential resurgence will hinge on how swiftly his team can narrow the gap to their Red Bull adversaries. In recent seasons, the disparity between the 2 teams has been wider than the Amazon River. At 39 years old, Lewis Hamilton finds himself without a victory for over 2 years. Max Verstappen and his Red Bull team are currently considered strong contenders to clinch both F1 titles this year, but team principal Horner anticipates a more competitive season as other teams work to narrow the gap. I'm sure over the next 2 years we're going to see much closer racing. We will not repeat the year. 2023 will go down as a unicorn year for us, that's for sure. In the previous season, Hamilton secured a 3rd-place finish, effectively earning the unofficial title of Best of the Rest, behind 2 Red Bull drivers. His mere 51-point gap to Sergio Perez by the season's end not only put a spotlight on the Mexican's lackluster performance, but also underscored the 7-time world champion's knack for extracting the optimal performance from his car. Despite this, it was still insufficient to mount a significant challenge against Verstappen. Mercedes has been absent from the title contention for the past 2 seasons, although they did clinch 8 consecutive Constructors' Championships before that. Acknowledging this history, Horner is confident that the Silver Arrows possess the potential to reclaim their prominent position. He singled out Mercedes as the most probable challengers for his Red Bull team. He said, "Mercedes has great strength and depth. Obviously, they've had a difficult period, but they have great drivers, and they will get it together, one would assume, at some point." Horner didn't give a specific time frame for when he sees Mercedes making a competitive resurgence against his Red Bull team. The absence of a clear timeline raises questions about whether it will happen within the next 2 seasons, a critical time frame for the 39-year-old Hamilton. Horner also claims that McLaren and Ferrari are also making strides and could potentially outpace Mercedes in their pursuit of success. It's difficult to identify which of those is likely to be the biggest challenger, but you could take your pick almost. What do you think? Will Lewis Hamilton be able to give us a more entertaining season? Do you also see Max Verstappen as the dirtiest driver on the grid? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell for the hottest F1 news.